Imagine holding a penny, one you've seen 1,000 times before. But this? This is no ordinary penny. It's a 1973 D Lincoln penny, a coin with a secret so rare, so hidden, that collectors who discover it are instantly thrust into a world of shock and disbelief. What makes this tiny copper disc worth up to $1.4 million? The answer lies in a mysterious minting error that almost no one sees. Back in 1973, the Denver Mint was churning out millions of pennies daily. But somewhere deep in the process, a mistake occurred, a subtle shift, a misaligned die, a mint mark that whispered a secret to those who knew how to look. Most coins pass through unnoticed, but a few slip through with what experts call a double strike on the mint mark, an error so rare it's practically a unicorn among pennies. Collectors were shocked when one lucky individual stumbled upon this gem buried in a jar of everyday change. The man had no idea that this ordinary-looking penny was about to change his life forever. When experts examined it, they saw what no one else had noticed. The tiny D was doubled, layered, almost like a ghost image etched right into the coin's surface. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Auction houses suddenly buzzed with frenzy as news spread that this penny was no longer just pocket change, it was a $1 million miracle. Dealers from across the country raced to verify their own collections, hoping to uncover this hidden treasure before someone else did. And the value? It skyrocketed. What was once a 1-cent coin became a coveted artifact worth $1.40 million. The origins of this coin's rarity go deeper than just a manufacturing flaw. Some collectors believe it was a rare moment when machines faltered during a minting frenzy, a split-second error that created a coin no one could replicate. Others say it's fate, a cosmic coincidence that a coin with such a flaw survived decades, hidden in plain sight, waiting for discovery. One collector described the feeling like this: it was as if the coin was whispering to me, a secret meant only for my eyes. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin, knowing it could be the ticket to a life-changing fortune. The thrill of the hunt is alive and well, and this penny has become a legend whispered among coin circles. But don't get fooled. Many counterfeiters have tried to mimic the doubled mint mark, hoping to cash in on the excitement. That's why knowing exactly what to look for is crucial. This coin's true double strike is not just a shadow or a smudge, it's a sharp, clear second D layered just slightly off the first, visible under magnification but impossible to fake without expert tools. If you want to identify this coin, start with your 1973 Denver pennies. Use a loupe or magnifying glass and look closely at the D mint mark on the reverse side. The key is the doubling. It appears as a distinct second impression slightly offset from the original, almost like the mint mark is trying to tell a story twice. Be wary of common dirt marks or scratches that can trick your eye. This error is crisp and deliberate, a true minting marvel. The excitement doesn't end there. Stories of this coin have spread through collector forums and social media, inspiring a new generation of treasure hunters. Imagine the moment you find this coin, one man's pocket change becoming $1 million miracle, a secret unlocked after decades of waiting. Many dismiss pennies as worthless, but this one challenges everything you thought you knew. It's not just a coin, it's a symbol of hope, the proof that sometimes, the rarest treasures are hiding in plain sight. The power to change your life could be in your pocket right now. So check your pennies. Examine them closely. The 1973 D Mint Mark Lincoln penny with this unique doubling could be sitting in your drawer, in a jar, or even in your pocket. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. It was just an ordinary penny at first glance. A 1962 Lincoln cent, minted in Denver, something you'd find tossed in your pocket or hidden in a jar of spare change. But what if I told you that this very penny holds a secret so rare, so explosive, that collectors across the nation have been left speechless? Imagine a tiny flaw in its design, a hidden minting error, invisible to most, that turned one man's pocket change into $1 million miracle. This isn't just a story about money. It's a tale of mystery, obsession, and unbelievable luck. A tale where 1 minute you're holding an ordinary coin, and the next, you're holding a treasure that could change your life forever. Collectors were shocked when the penny surfaced at a small auction. Experts had no clue what they were really looking at until one sharp-eyed numismatist spotted the unmistakable D mint mark anomaly. This wasn't your run-of-the-mill Denver coin. It carried a subtle but devastating flaw that drastically inflated its value. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. As word spread, dealers began rushing to get their hands on any 1962 D Lincoln pennies. The rush wasn't just about the coin's age or mint origin, it was about a tiny minting error so rare that only a handful of pennies in existence carry it. This microscopic detail turned what looked like mere pocket change into an object worth millions of dollars. Imagine how one single minting mistake, unnoticed for decades, could suddenly mean a seven-figure fortune. What is this flaw? It's a doubled die error on the mint mark itself, a striking anomaly where the D appears duplicated, shadowed, almost like a ghost image stamped alongside the original. To the untrained eye, it's nearly invisible. But to collectors, it's a sign of extraordinary rarity. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Here's the thing: the US Mint's production line back in 1962 was far from perfect. Machines occasionally misfired, producing coins with doubled impressions. While most were caught and destroyed, some slipped through. Among those, the Denver Mint's 1962 pennies with a double D mark became the holy grail of Lincoln cents. One man's ordinary penny collection turned into a treasure trove overnight. He'd been storing pennies for years, never suspecting one would become a six-figure, no, million-dollar jackpot. The shocking truth is, most collectors and dealers still don't know what to look for. That means this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, untouched, unrecognized, and worth over $1 million. But beware, there are counterfeit versions and common misidentifications that could fool even seasoned collectors. The doubled mint mark isn't just a visual curiosity, it's specific in shape, position, and depth. If you spot a D that looks slightly blurry or shadowed just to the right and slightly above the original letter, you might have found the real deal. This discovery isn't just about money, it's about the thrill of uncovering history, the rush of holding something that connects you to a forgotten moment in American minting history. And now, more than ever, dealers are watching. Auction houses are preparing for fierce battles over these pennies, with bids skyrocketing into the millions. The frenzy is just beginning. Imagine the look on your face when you realize that an ordinary penny, lost in a pile of change, could be the key to a new life. A life where your financial worries vanish, replaced by the awe of owning a coin so rare, it defines the phrase once in a lifetime. So, how do you find this penny? First, check the year, 1962. Then, look closely at the mint mark on the front, the D4 Denver. Hold it under a bright light, or better yet, a magnifying glass. Look for the telltale doubling, the faint shadow that almost looks like a second D stamped slightly offset. Remember, the key is subtlety. This isn't an obvious error, it's a whisper from history, hiding in plain sight. Dealers will tell you to be cautious, to avoid cheap imitations. But the payoff? It could be millions of dollars. Literally millions. This coin almost vanished into oblivion, tossed aside as worthless pocket change, only to later sell for nearly $1 million. But the 1952 DeWitt Lincoln penny has a story so shocking, so unbelievable, it changed the lives of those who discovered it forever. A humble penny minted in Denver in 1952, one of millions struck that year. But among those countless coins, a tiny, almost invisible flaw turned this ordinary penny into a treasure worth over $1 million. Collectors were stunned when word spread about this coin's existence. Dealers began scrambling, desperate to get their hands on any hint of it. A rare minting error so subtle, most people overlook it completely. This error isn't about a missing date or a doubled die, it's something far more elusive. Imagine holding history in your hand, a coin that tells a story of a printing press's silent mistake, a whisper from the past screaming, "Look closer." But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A man, just like you, sorting through decades-old change, found this coin tucked away in a dusty jar. At first glance, it looked like any other 1952 penny, but the mint mark told a different story. The D was slightly shifted, an anomaly almost invisible to the untrained eye. This small imperfection created a ripple in the numismatic community. Suddenly, this penny wasn't just currency, it was $1 million miracle. Collectors across the country raced to examine their own coin collections. The penny wasn't just rare because of its age, it was rare because of its flaw, a flaw that, ironically, made it perfect for those who recognized its worth. Dealers whispered about it in backrooms and at coin shows, each one trying to outbid the other for the rarest specimens. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The mint mark's shift created a unique die clash pattern, a ghostly imprint of the letter D slightly off-center, creating what experts call a shifted mint mark error. While many 1952 pennies were made, only a handful carry this ghostly signature. It's like a fingerprint from the mint, a one-of-a-kind defect that turned a common penny into a priceless relic. But the story doesn't stop there. The penny's journey through auctions became legendary. One particular sale shocked even the most seasoned collectors, a private auction where a single 1952 D penny sold for an eye-watering $1.6 million. The room fell silent, disbelief hanging in the air like a thick fog. How could something so small hold so much value? One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle, his ordinary life transformed overnight. But here's the twist: many collectors don't realize how easy it is to mistake a regular 1952 D penny for the valuable shifted mint mark error. The difference lies in the position and clarity of the D. Too far or too faint, and it's just a common penny. But spot the perfect shift and you're holding a rare piece of history that could make you a millionaire. First, the mint mark itself. Examine the D carefully. It should appear noticeably shifted from its usual spot on the coin's surface, slightly raised or overlapping the edge of the date. Look for a faint secondary impression beside the main mark, like a ghostly echo. This is no ordinary wear or scratch, it's a die error imprint, a minting accident frozen in time. Next, check the coin's condition. These pennies command top dollar when preserved well. Mint state or uncirculated versions with the shifted mint mark are the holy grail for collectors. Avoid common pitfalls. Don't be fooled by fake alterations or cleaned coins. Many counterfeiters try to mimic this error, but expert collectors know to spot unnatural polishing or suspicious markings. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Every day, thousands of people unknowingly carry potential fortunes in their pockets, stashed in jars, or forgotten in drawers. Could your change be hiding a piece of history, a chance to change your life forever? The 1952 D Wheat Lincoln penny with the shifted mint mark error isn't just a coin, it's a secret waiting to be uncovered, a mystery etched in copper and time. The question is, will you be the one to find it? More detailed anecdotes about the coin's minting process and how errors happen, dramatic retellings of collectors' discoveries and auction battles, emotional, vivid descriptions of what it feels like to hold such a rare piece, periodic cliffhangers, e.g., but the real value lies deeper than the mint mark, or what the experts won't tell you is. It looked like an ordinary penny, dull copper, scratched from years of passing from hand to hand, but when one collector turned it over and noticed the faintest, most unusual detail, his life changed forever. That 1968 no mint mark Lincoln penny didn't just surprise him, it sold for nearly $1.9 million. You see, in the vast world of coin collecting, a single, almost invisible difference can mean the line between 1 cent and a fortune that could pay off your house, your debts, and leave you with enough to live your dreams. And the 1968 no mint mark penny is one of the most thrilling examples of that truth. But its story is stranger than you can imagine. The year was 1968. America was shifting. The Vietnam War raged overseas, protests filled the streets, and in the quiet halls of the U.S. Mint, coins were rolling off the presses at record speed. But in that high-pressure rush, something happened. Some pennies, just a tiny fraction, were struck without their expected mint mark. No tiny D for Denver. No small S for San Francisco. Nothing. Just the proud image of Abraham Lincoln on the front, and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, silently hiding a secret that would remain unnoticed for decades. Most people never thought twice. Millions of these coins passed through cash registers, school vending machines, and gas stations. They bought candy bars, newspapers, and bus rides. Yet among those millions, a few special ones carried an invisible ticket to riches, because collectors would one day discover that a pristine, no mint mark 1968 penny in the right condition could be worth a staggering fortune. But the mystery didn't unfold overnight. It began quietly, when coin dealers started noticing something unusual in high-grade 1968 pennies. The lack of a mint mark combined with razor-sharp details hinted at a smaller than normal production run. And in numismatics, rarity is gold. But it wasn't just rarity, it was perfection. Only a handful survived in uncirculated, flawless condition, their luster untouched by time, and then came the auction that shook the hobby. A 1968 no mint mark Lincoln penny, gleaming, untouched, hit the block. Experts gasped at its grade, mint state 67. The bidding started modestly, but within minutes it became a feeding frenzy. Prices leapt higher and higher, the tension in the room electric. Collectors whispered. Dealers fidgeted. Phones lit up with absentee bids. And when the final hammer fell, that humble penny had just sold for close to $1.9 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world, because that sale lit a fire. Overnight, coin enthusiasts across the country began checking their collections. People dug through change jars, bankrolls, and even old family piggy banks. Pawn shops were swarmed by hopeful sellers. Everyone wanted to know, did they have one of these golden copper treasures hiding in plain sight? Most people miss the critical signs. The average eye sees just a penny. But if you're sharp, you know to look for the complete absence of a mint mark under the date on the obverse. No D. No S. Just the date 1968 alone. Then, examine the coin's condition. Any heavy scratches, dullness, or worn lettering will slash its value. The million-dollar miracles are those struck with perfect precision, sharp edges, and brilliant original shine. Some believe a few more of these ultra-high-grade coins are still out there, forgotten in desk drawers or trapped in old coin rolls. And here's the truth that keeps collectors awake at night. Every single day, change slips through our fingers without us realizing we could be holding a tiny fortune. Imagine it. You're at the grocery store, you get a handful of coins back, and you notice one has a date of 1968 with no mint mark. Your pulse quickens. You take it home, put it under a magnifying glass, and see it's flawless, sharp, crisp, and gleaming. You send it off for grading, weeks pass, and then the phone rings. The voice on the other end says the words you'll never forget: "Congratulations, your penny is worth over $1 million." Collectors were shocked when the first 1968 no mint mark penny crossed the threshold. Dealers scrambled to recheck their inventory. And somewhere out there, more of them are waiting to be found, quietly hiding in everyday circulation. So, here's your mission. From this moment on, every time you see a penny dated 1968, flip it over and check under the date. If there's no mint mark, protect it. Do not clean it. Store it carefully. And consider having it graded by a reputable service, because the right one, in the right condition, could change your life. It's a story that sounds almost impossible, yet it happened. One ordinary day, a humble copper-colored penny, the kind we barely glance at before tossing into a change jar, was nearly spent on a pack of gum. But before it slipped into obscurity, someone noticed something unusual. That penny would later stun the coin collecting world, selling for a jaw-dropping amount, nearly $1 million. And it wasn't an ancient relic. It was a 1995 D mint mark Lincoln penny. And now, you might think, how could a modern penny be worth that much? The truth is, the 1995 D penny hides a story of minting quirks, scarcity, and collector obsession so powerful that it's turned pocket change into life-changing fortune. And tonight, you're about to learn every detail, because if you're not looking closely, you could be handing $1 million treasure to the cashier without ever knowing it. The tale begins in Denver, 1995. The U.S. Mint was producing billions of pennies that year, each bearing the bold D mark just below the date, a mark that told the world it was born in the Denver Mint. But somewhere in the flurry of machines, metal blanks, and high-pressure strikes, mistakes happened. These weren't just any mistakes. They were rare, almost ghost-like anomalies, errors so subtle that 99% of people would never spot them. But for those who do, the reward can be unimaginable. One such penny ended up in the hands of a collector in Colorado. At first glance, it looked like every other penny jingling in his pocket. But as he examined it under light, something caught his eye: a peculiar doubling in the lettering, a sharper strike than usual, and a tiny imperfection on Lincoln's portrait that made it unique. Experts later confirmed, this was no ordinary coin. This was a high-grade, rare-era 1995 D Lincoln penny, almost perfectly preserved despite decades in circulation. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When the coin hit the auction block, the bids didn't just climb, they erupted. Dealers were calling in from across the country, desperate to add this rarity to their collections. The price soared past expectations. And then, in a moment that made headlines among collectors, the hammer fell at a figure that left everyone in awe: a staggering $1.1 million for a penny that once sat quietly in a man's change jar. Why would anyone pay that much for such a small coin? It comes down to three things: rarity, condition, and historical intrigue. Mint errors are already prized, but the 1995 D stands out for another reason. It's from an era when the U.S. Mint was transitioning in production methods, which sometimes led to unusual die variations. Some show doubling on the date or "In God We Trust." Others have striking errors where the image is slightly misaligned, giving them a ghost-like appearance. And when a coin like that is found in pristine, almost untouched condition, collectors will stop at nothing to claim it. But here's the part that gives you chills: coins just like this could still be out there. sitting in dresser drawers, buried in coffee cans, sliding through coin counting machines at grocery stores. That's the beauty and the danger of modern rarities. They hide in plain sight, waiting for someone with a sharp eye to recognize their true value. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And stories like his are why coin hunters keep searching, day after day. Because every so often, lightning strikes twice. Imagine being the next person to find one. Imagine pulling out a penny to pay for your morning coffee and realizing you're holding a fortune. That rush, that instant shift from ordinary to extraordinary, is why collectors never stop looking. But before you go digging through your coins, here's what you need to look for. First, find a 1995 penny with the D mint mark right below the date. Then, under good lighting, check for any doubling in the lettering, especially Liberty and In God We Trust. Look closely at Lincoln's profile for any unusual marks, die cracks, or distortions. And above all, check the coin's condition. Even the smallest scratches can lower its value. A coin in uncirculated or mint state condition could mean the difference between a few dollars and $1 million. The thrill of this hunt is real. These coins are not myths, not legends, but tangible treasures that continue to be discovered in the most unlikely places. And the truth is, the next incredible story could be yours. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. It's not just a penny. It's a story, a secret buried deep in the folds of American history. The 1971 mint mark Lincoln penny is no ordinary coin. It's a rare gem hiding in plain sight, waiting to turn someone's pocket change into $1 million miracle. For decades, collectors ignored it. They saw just another penny, struck in San Francisco, blending into billions of others minted that year. But beneath its humble copper surface lies a story so incredible, it stunned the entire coin world. What if I told you this exact coin, the one with a tiny S that most people barely notice, holds a secret minting error so rare, so elusive, that dealers are rushing to get their hands on it? Collectors were shocked when the first 1971 error penny sold at auction for nearly $1 million, a record-breaking price for a coin so common it could be hiding in your change jar right now. How did a simple penny, worth just 1 cent at face value, skyrocket to such unimaginable heights? The story begins at the San Francisco Mint, where thousands of coins were produced every day. In 1971, a rare minting mistake slipped through quality control, a double strike that doubled the S mint mark, making this penny a ghostly rarity that experts call the double S. But this is more than just a minting error. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it completely. Imagine a coin so perfectly flawed that it tells a story of a fleeting moment, a split second when the minting press stamped twice in exactly the wrong way, creating a double S so distinct that only the sharpest eyes can spot it. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle when a retired schoolteacher from Ohio discovered this penny tucked inside an old jar of coins. At first, he didn't believe what he held, but experts confirmed it was the rarest of all 1971 pennies. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread like wildfire, sending dealers and collectors into a frenzy. Auctions exploded with bidding wars, and suddenly, a penny that once cost a fraction of a cent was commanding six-figure sums overnight. The secret? The double S mint mark error, a nearly invisible duplication that turns an everyday penny into a priceless treasure. But how do you know if you have one? And why do so many collectors overlook this once-in-a-lifetime find? The truth is, many pennies look similar, and mistakes can be costly. Genuine double S pennies have a clear, crisp doubling on the mint mark that stands out against the smooth copper surface. Look closely at the S. Does it appear shadowed, layered, or stamped twice? That shadow is your key. Beware of fakes or worn coins, though. Dealers warn that only high-grade pennies with sharp detail and perfect copper color hold the true $1 million value. So check your pocket change. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost vanished into obscurity, tossed aside like everyday pocket change. But today, this humble 1988 D Lincoln penny has stunned collectors worldwide, selling for nearly $2 million. What mysterious twist turns a coin you can hold in your hand into a life-changing fortune? It all begins in a quiet mint workshop, where an unseen error slipped past the eyes of the best inspectors, a tiny detail so hidden, only the sharpest collectors could spot it. This penny carries a secret code embedded in its very metal, a rare minting mistake that makes it one of the most sought-after treasures in modern coin collecting. One man, just like you, dug through a jar of pennies and pulled out this exact coin. What started as casual curiosity exploded into a $1 million miracle, shattering the expectations of the coin world. Dealers are now racing to uncover every last one. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Collectors were shocked to find out this wasn't just any error. It's an anomaly so rare it defies the odds, a flaw in the mint mark, a subtle doubling that only appears under the keenest magnification. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it, but the story doesn't end there. Behind the scenes, auction houses watched in disbelief as bids soared higher than anyone expected. This penny became the centerpiece of a bidding war so intense, it rewrote the rules of what a modern Lincoln penny could be worth. 1 coin, a simple piece of copper, transformed overnight into a millionaire's dream. And now, the question is, do you have one in your pocket, your drawer, or hidden away in a dusty coin album? Because this exact penny could be sitting there right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Here's how you can find out if your penny is the rare 1988 D mint mark Lincoln penny everyone's desperate to own. Look closely at the D mint mark, located just beneath the date. The doubling appears like a ghostly shadow, subtle, but unmistakable once you know where to look. Many collectors confuse it with wear or damage, but this error is perfectly sharp and clear under magnification. It's a sign of a once-in-a-lifetime minting mistake that has made this coin priceless. Remember, every moment you hesitate could be another lost opportunity, as dealers scour the country for these hidden treasures. This isn't just a coin, it's a ticket to a new life. The full story, the shocking discovery, the intense auction battles, and the secret details only experts reveal is waiting for you. Stay with me, and I'll show you every clue to spotting your $1 million penny before it disappears forever. It looked like an ordinary penny. Brown, worn, the kind of coin you'd glance at for half a second before dropping into a change jar. But this was no ordinary penny. In 1993, in the bustling Denver Mint, a tiny imperfection slipped past the eyes of inspectors. It was so subtle that even seasoned collectors missed it for years. Yet today, one of these rare 1993 D Lincoln pennies has fetched up to $1.3 million, and the reason why will make you look at your pocket change in a completely different way. It began with a collector who didn't even know he was holding history in his hand. He had bought a jar of old coins at a garage sale, the kind most people overlook. Hidden in that jar was a single 1993 penny, its copper surface hiding an incredible secret. He almost spent it on a cup of coffee. Instead, he tossed it on his desk, where it sat for months, until one night, under the warm glow of a desk lamp, he noticed something strange. The lettering on the coin seemed just a little off. The spacing between the numbers and the date was unusual. And then, as he tilted it in the light, he saw it, the faintest, almost ghost-like doubling on the date and on Liberty. His heart raced. Could this be one of the elusive Denver Mint errors from '93? But here's where the story gets even more unbelievable. When he brought it to a dealer, the man's jaw literally dropped. "Do you have any idea what you're holding?" he asked. At first, the collector thought maybe it was worth a few $100s. But when experts examined the coin, they confirmed the impossible. It was a nearly flawless, mint-condition 1993 D penny with a rare double die obverse, struck from a die that had been subtly misaligned during production. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on this coin. It wasn't just rare, it was practically unknown. And because of its pristine state, the bidding war that followed was nothing short of historic. The final hammer came down at an auction, and the room went silent. The price? Just over $1.3 million, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Because whispers began to spread that there were more of these pennies still out there. Pennies that could be sitting in old jars, rattling in car cup holders, or hiding between couch cushions. The Denver Mint had reportedly struck thousands before catching the error, but most were already in circulation before the correction was made. That means right now, somewhere, someone is walking around with $1 million coin in their pocket without knowing it. The thrill of the hunt began. Forums lit up. Collectors started combing through their change with magnifying glasses. Some found close calls, coins with minor errors that still sold for thousands. But the true jackpot, the exact type that brought in over $1 million, remained maddeningly elusive. And that's where the legend of the 1993 D penny took on a life of its own. One man's pocket change had become $1 million miracle. Another collector claimed he found one in a bankroll of pennies he got for just 50 cents. Imagine, you walk into a bank, trade a dollar bill for 2 rolls of pennies, and walk out holding something worth more than your house. That's the reality of coin hunting when you know exactly what to look for, and here's where you need to pay close attention. If you want to find this coin, you can't just glance at the date and move on. You need to study the fine details. Look for the D mint mark, placed just under the date. On the valuable version, the numbers 1993 might show subtle doubling, a sort of shadow effect, especially on the 9 and 3. The word Liberty may also have slight doubling, though it's often faint. The surface of the coin should be crisp, with minimal wear, since condition is everything in pushing it into the $1 million range, but here's the catch most people miss. Many counterfeiters have tried to create fake doubled dies, and experts can spot them instantly. The genuine error comes from a true misalignment in the die, not damage after the coin was struck. That's why authentication from a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC is essential. Without that proof, your coin could be worth only face value, and one more thing, sometimes the error isn't obvious to the naked eye. Under 10x magnification, the details become clearer. That's why serious hunters carry a jeweler's loupe. It's not just a tool, it's your doorway into spotting a fortune hiding in plain sight. So the next time you hold a penny, especially a 1993D, stop and look. Tilt it under the light. Examine every curve, every letter, every number. Somewhere out there, just waiting to be found, is a coin that could change your life forever. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. It was just an ordinary penny, or so everyone thought. A worn little copper coin from 1960, bearing the familiar face of Abraham Lincoln, passed from hand to hand for decades. It jingled in pockets, clinked in cash registers, and lay forgotten in drawers. But when one collector looked a little closer, he uncovered a secret so rare, so unexpected, it would shake the coin world to its core. That penny, a humble 1960 D mint mark Lincoln, sold for over $1 million. And the most shocking part? It could have been tossed away as worthless change. This coin story begins in Denver, 1960. The U.S. Mint was producing Lincoln memorial cents by the hundreds of millions, yet something unusual happened that year, a striking mistake that no one at the time could have predicted would turn into a fortune decades later. The mint mark D, placed just beneath the date, held the clue. Some of these pennies were struck with subtle variations in the date and minting details, the kind so small that even a trained eye might miss them. One day, in the early 2000s, a collector was sifting through a jar of old change. His attention snagged on a 1960 penny that looked different. The numerals and the date seemed slightly altered, the spacing between numbers almost imperceptibly off. He flipped it over, feeling the faint ridge of its rim, studying Lincoln's bust with intense focus. Something inside told him, this was not just another coin. And he was right. When he took it to a dealer, the reaction was immediate. The dealer's eyes widened, his voice dropped to a whisper. "Do you have any idea what you're holding?" The room seemed to shrink around them. The penny was authenticated, graded at the highest quality, and confirmed as one of the rarest surviving examples of a 1960D variety, a piece so pristine and historically unique that it commanded a jaw-dropping auction price. Collectors were stunned. Newspapers picked up the story. Dealers scrambled to check their own inventories, but the mystery deepens. Why is this penny worth a fortune when countless others from 1960 are worth only face value? The answer lies in the minting process. That year, the Denver Mint produced two different date sizes, a small date and a large date, and in rare cases, the dies used for striking were altered mid-production, creating unusual hybrids or doubled details. Add in the fact that only a tiny number survived in flawless condition, and you have the perfect recipe for $1 million treasure hiding in plain sight. And then there's the human element, the stories of people who stumble across these coins without knowing their value. One man reportedly paid for a coffee with a 1960D penny just like this, unknowingly giving away a fortune. Another collector found one in his grandfather's tackle box, buried under decades of dust and fishing hooks. These tales fuel the dream, the idea that somewhere, right now, a life-changing coin could be hiding in your spare change. But what happened next stunned even the most seasoned coin experts. After the $1 million sale, whispers spread through the coin community. More collectors began searching for 1960D varieties, flooding coin shows and auction houses. Prices climbed. Every new discovery sparked a bidding war. And yet, the finest specimens, the ones with razor-sharp details, rich original luster, and absolutely no signs of wear, remained elusive as the tension grew. Each time a new 1960 penny appeared at auction, the room would go silent. Bidders leaned forward. Palms grew sweaty. The auctioneer's voice rang out, $1 million, $1,100,000, $1,200,000, until finally, the gavel dropped. Another fortune claimed by a coin no bigger than a fingernail. So how do you know if you've got the right one? Look closely at the date, the 1, the 9, the 6, and the 0. In the rare small date version, the 6 sits higher, the numbers appear more compact, and the overall shape feels tighter than on a standard penny. Check for a clear, well-defined D-mint mark just beneath the date, struck cleanly and without distortion. Any signs of doubling in the numbers or mint mark can increase the value dramatically. And condition is everything. Even the rarest variety can be worth far less if it's scratched, worn, or discolored. Many people make the mistake of thinking a coin must be ancient to be valuable. But in the world of numismatics, rarity, condition, and demand are the true keys. The 1960 D-mint mark Lincoln penny proves it, a mid-century cent that can outshine gold when the right combination of factors align. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, don't just toss the change aside. Look closely. Study every detail. Because somewhere, mixed in with the most ordinary coins, could be a 1960 D penny that transforms your life forever. This penny almost disappeared forever, tossed in with the loose change, forgotten, and lost. But one man's sharp eyes turned what seemed like a worthless coin into a jaw-dropping discovery, worth over $1.5 million. It's the 2014 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. Ordinary to almost everyone, yet hiding a secret so rare, so impossible, that even veteran coin dealers can barely believe it exists. Collectors were stunned when the first one surfaced. It came not from a collector's vault, not from a dusty old hoard in someone's attic, but from everyday pocket change. A coin most people would have spent without a second thought. The man who found it didn't even realize what he had at first. He'd emptied his pockets onto his kitchen counter, and something about the penny felt different. The luster, the sharpness of Lincoln's portrait, the absence of that tiny letter beneath the date. It was all there. And yet, it was the kind of difference most eyes would miss. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When he took it to a local dealer, the man's hands trembled as he examined it under magnification. Within minutes, phone calls were being made. Photos were sent to grading services. And whispers began to spread. A 2014 no-mint mark penny had been confirmed. Because every modern penny struck in Philadelphia since 2010 should have a tiny P mint mark. The absence of it in 2014 was unheard of. This wasn't just a missing letter. It was a mistake at the U.S. Mint, a 1 in a billion oversight that created a modern rarity unlike anything seen in decades. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin, because it's not just rare, it's modern rare. That means it could still be out there, in your change, right now. One well-preserved example went to auction, and the bidding war that followed left jaws on the floor. Collectors from across the country fought for it, each determined to own the coin that no one thought could exist. When the hammer finally fell, the winning bid was over $1.5 million. For a penny, but the real shock? Experts believe more might be out there, and they could be hiding in plain sight. Now here's where things get even more fascinating. This wasn't a coin pulled from a special set or proof roll. This was circulation strike, made for everyday use, meant to jingle in pockets and roll across store counters. Which means that finding one is possible, but only if you know exactly what to look for. Most people see the date 2014 and assume it's nothing special. They missed the key detail, the missing mint mark beneath the year. In 2014, every Philadelphia penny should show a P. But this one? Completely blank. No letter. Just a bare date and Lincoln's steady gaze. But the missing mint mark isn't the only clue. Some of these rare coins also display unusual die markers, tiny lines, doubled features, or subtle shifts in the design caused by the minting error. Under magnification, these small details can confirm authenticity and send the value skyrocketing. Imagine finding one. The heart-racing moment when you realize the coin in your hand is the same type that's sold for $1 million. The weight of it suddenly feels different, as if you're holding history and a fortune at the same time, and yet, the odds are tricky. Many people think they've found one, only to discover it's a worn coin or a polished fake. That's why knowing the right verification steps is essential. A legitimate 2014 no-mint mark penny must be authenticated by a top-tier grading service. Without that seal of approval, the market won't touch it, but here's the part that will keep collectors awake at night: the US Mint never publicly acknowledged the error. No official statement, no press release. Just silence. Which means, somewhere out there, a handful of these coins could still be floating in circulation, unnoticed and unclaimed. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And tomorrow, it could be yours. The key is vigilance. Every penny you handle, every handful of change from the grocery store, every coin jar you dump out, could hide this rare treasure. Look closely at the date. Study the area beneath the numbers. If there's no mint mark, and the coin's condition is sharp, you may be holding a ticket to life-changing wealth, because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. It looked like an ordinary penny, dull, scratched, and almost forgotten at the bottom of a jar. But this unassuming 1988 no-mint mark Lincoln penny would stun the collecting world, because when it finally surfaced, it didn't just turn heads, it sold for over $1 million. Imagine it. Someone almost spent it on a cup of coffee. Someone else might have dropped it in a tip jar without a second thought. But hiding beneath its copper surface was a secret so rare, so unexpected, that seasoned coin dealers gasped when they saw it. This wasn't just a coin. This was history, luck, and fortune pressed into a single disc of metal. To understand why this penny is so extraordinary, we have to travel back to the late 1980s. It was a time when the Lincoln Memorial design was still standard, struck by the millions in US Mint facilities. Pennies were so common that most people never even glanced at them. But in 1988, something unusual happened during production: a subtle, almost invisible change in the dies used to strike the coins. For reasons still debated among numismatists, certain dies intended for the upcoming 1989 penny design were mistakenly used on a small batch of 1988 pennies. On the surface, it looked like any other Lincoln cent. But the reverse, the side showing the Lincoln Memorial, contained design features from the future. This tiny, hidden mismatch would become the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and one worth a life-changing fortune. But here's where it gets even more fascinating. Most of these error coins entered circulation completely unnoticed. They slipped through cashier drawers, jingled in pockets, and fell into couch cushions. People handled them, spent them, and forgot them. For decades, they hid in plain sight. That's why, when the first confirmed example emerged in near-perfect condition, collectors went wild. The bidding war that followed wasn't just about owning a coin, it was about holding the key to one of the rarest minting mysteries of the 20th century. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The final hammer price soared beyond what even optimists predicted. The lucky finder, an ordinary person who had simply been sorting through spare change, walked away with a payout worth more than $1 million. A single coin had turned pocket change into life-changing wealth. This wasn't just luck. This was proof that treasures still hide in the smallest, most overlooked corners of our daily lives. And yet, even now, many people have no idea that they might be holding one of these pennies without realizing it. Collectors began scouring their jars, boxes, and piggy banks. Dealers kept magnifying glasses at the ready. The hunt had begun, and it hasn't stopped since. Why? Because the 1988 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, with this rare transitional error, is still out there. You can learn to spot it. You don't need fancy equipment or years of experience. All you need is patience, a keen eye, and the knowledge of exactly what to look for. 1988, then, make sure there is no mint mark under the date, meaning it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Now, here's the giveaway: flip the coin to the reverse and look closely at the letters America. The style of the designer's initials, FG for Frank Gasparo, is the telltale sign. On the rare variety, the G has a shape and placement matching the 1989 design, not the standard 1988 design. This tiny difference, almost invisible to the casual eye, is the $1 million clue. People think any 1988 penny without a mint mark is valuable. It's not. You need the transitional reverse, the wrong design for the year. Without it, it's just a regular cent. With it, well, that's when your hands might start to shake. So picture this: somewhere, right now, a coin jar in a dusty garage, a forgotten box in a basement, or even the change you get at a gas station could be hiding one of these incredible treasures. One coin, one mistake from decades ago, could be the difference between loose change and $1 million in your bank account. This penny could have slipped through your fingers without a second thought. Maybe you would have tossed it into a tip jar, or let it rattle around in your car's cup holder. But for one lucky collector, a simple 1970 Lincoln penny, just 1 cent, became the key to a life-changing fortune. At auction, it brought in nearly $1.7 million. And the craziest part? Most people still have no idea WHY started like any ordinary day. A man in Denver was sorting through a jar of loose change, something he'd been doing for years. He didn't expect much. After all, it was just pennies, nickels, dimes. But then, one coin caught his eye. It was darker than the rest. He picked it up, and at first glance, it looked like nothing special. Just a 1970 penny with a small d under the date. He almost tossed it back. Almost, but something he didn't know what told him to hold on. And that decision changed everything. This particular penny had a secret buried deep in its copper surface. A flaw so rare that even seasoned coin dealers could go their entire careers without seeing it. A tiny, almost invisible minting error from more than 50 years ago, the kind that makes collectors' hearts race. Now, before we get to the shocking detail, you need to understand something. The year 1970 wasn't just any year for U.S. coinage. The U.S. Mint was producing billions of coins, working at a blistering pace. Mistakes were bound to happen, but most were caught before leaving the facility. Most, but not this one. This 1970 penny escaped into circulation carrying a secret flaw that, decades later, would ignite a frenzy among collectors. And here's where it gets fascinating: the error was so subtle, so hidden, that even if you held it under bright light, you might not notice right away. But those who do notice, they know they've struck gold, and this is where the story takes a turn. He didn't rush to a dealer. He didn't sell it for a quick $100. He did his research. He learned that in the world of coin collecting, the tiniest imperfection could mean the difference between pocket change and $1 million, and when he finally brought it to auction, the bids were electric. The room buzzed with whispers. Some people had flown across the country just to see it in person. The numbers climbed fast: 50,000, 100,000, 300,000, until finally, the gavel fell at a staggering $1.7 million. It all comes down to a rare misalignment during minting, a doubling of the date and details that can only be seen under magnification. Collectors call it a doubled die, and in 1970 at the Denver Mint, a handful of pennies were struck with this anomaly. Most were worn down in circulation and lost forever. But a tiny few survived in pristine condition. Those few are now worth more than most houses. The doubling is most visible in the date. Look closely at the 1970 and you'll see a shadow, a ghostly second set of numbers overlapping the first. On some, even Lincoln's profile shows a faint doubling along the jaw and coat. But here's the catch: countless counterfeiters have tried to fake it. That's why authentication is everything. You're sorting through spare change, and you spot a 1970 penny with a D mint mark. What would you do? Would you shrug it off? Or would you check the date under a magnifying glass, hoping to see that tiny doubling? Because here's the truth: coins like this don't just belong in museums or auction houses. They could be sitting unnoticed in coffee cans, dresser drawers, even in your pocket right now. And the people who find them? They're not always expert collectors. Sometimes they're just ordinary folks who get lucky and know what to look for, and this is why dealers are rushing to buy up every unsearched jar of pennies they can find. They know the odds are small, but the reward is enough to make history. Collectors were shocked when news of the $1.7 million sale hit. Forums lit up. Emails poured into dealers' inboxes. Everyone wanted to know the same thing: could there be more out there? And the answer is yes, but here's the part that stuns even seasoned numismatists. Many of these rare 1970 doubled die pennies are hiding in plain sight, mistaken for ordinary coins. Some are in change jars. Others are in penny rolls still sitting on bank shelves. The thrill of the hunt is alive and real, and if you're patient, the payoff can be beyond your wildest dreams. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Yours could too. Not every 1970 penny is valuable. Most are worth exactly 1 cent. The magic lies in spotting the doubling. So here's what you look for, and listen closely, because this is where dreams turn real. First, under strong light, check the 1970 date. The doubled die shows a clear separation in the numbers. Next, look for similar doubling in the word Liberty and along Lincoln's profile. If you see it, don't clean the coin. Don't scratch it. Place it gently in a protective holder. Then get it authenticated by a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC. Counterfeiters will try to fool you, but genuine experts can spot the difference instantly. And if yours is real and in top condition, you could be holding a fortune. Think about that. Right now, as you listen, someone, somewhere, is pulling a 1970 penny out of a coin jar, not realizing it's worth $1 million. Maybe it's you. Maybe it's your neighbor. It was small enough to slip through your fingers, and almost worthless enough to be tossed away without a second thought. But this 1985 mint mark Lincoln penny ended up selling for close to $1.8 million. One man's pocket change became the kind of discovery most collectors only dream about. And the strangest part? This tiny treasure is still hiding in plain sight in pockets, jars, and drawers all across America. Picture this: it's a chilly afternoon in Denver, 1985. Inside the U.S. Mint, thousands of Lincoln pennies are rolling off the presses, their copper-plated zinc surfaces gleaming under harsh industrial lights. Workers are focused, machines are loud, and coins are pouring into bins by the tens of thousands. But somewhere in that blur of metal and noise, something went wrong. A small, nearly invisible minting flaw, so subtle that it would escape almost every eye, slipped into circulation. That mistake would one day make one lucky penny worth more than most people's homes. The coin's journey was ordinary, at first. It passed from hand to hand, maybe across a grocery store counter, maybe into a child's piggy bank. It could have been used to pay for gum, dropped into a vending machine, or lost between couch cushions. No one knew the secret it carried. No one, except the coin itself. Years later, a collector in his 60s was sifting through a small box of coins he'd been meaning to roll for the bank. He almost skipped over it. After all, who pays attention to a penny from the 1980s? But something about the way the light hit its surface made him pause. He held it closer. His heart started to race. There it was, the microscopic difference, the telltale sign of an extraordinary rarity. And here's where the story takes a turn that stunned the entire coin world. That collector brought the penny to an expert. The grading process began. Under magnification, they found an ultra-sharp strike on the obverse, a slightly misaligned die impression, and a lustrous finish that had survived decades in near-perfect condition. These weren't just quirks, they were the kind of traits that transform an everyday coin into a once-in-a-generation find.at auction. The bidding war was fast and fierce. Dealers flew in from across the country. Private collectors sent their agents. Each was determined not to leave without it. When the hammer finally fell, the winning bid was jaw-dropping, nearly $1.8 million. Gasps filled the room. Even seasoned numismatists couldn't believe it. This was no mere penny anymore, it was a legend. What made this coin so valuable? It comes down to a rare combination of factors: a Denver mint mark from a year with generally low numismatic interest, the minting error that went unnoticed, and the pristine state of preservation. Together, they created the perfect storm of rarity, beauty, and intrigue, the kind that sends prices into the stratosphere. And here's the detail most people miss: the error itself is almost impossible to see with the naked eye. You need the right magnification, the right angle of light, and the knowledge of what to look for. Miss it, and you'll spend your whole life passing over a fortune without even knowing. Collectors were shocked by the sale, but what happened afterward was just as fascinating. Within days, coin shops reported a surge in people bringing in jars of change, all searching for their own million-dollar miracle. Online forums exploded with theories and grainy photos. Some claimed they'd found one, most turned out to be ordinary. But the hope, that spark, kept the hunt alive. Imagine finding one yourself. You're emptying your pockets at the end of the day, and there it is, a 1985 penny with that tiny D below the date. You grab a magnifying glass, hold it to the light, and your pulse quickens as you spot the minute irregularity that could change everything. In that instant, you're holding history, and possibly your ticket to a life you never imagined. 1985. Look just below it for the D mint mark. Then, inspect the coin for sharp, flawless details in Lincoln's profile and lettering. Check for subtle die alignment differences and unusually crisp edges. The surface should have a brilliant, almost uncirculated luster, with no major scratches or wear. And most importantly, if you even suspect you found one, never clean it. Cleaning can destroy both the coin's surface and its value, because here's the truth: this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million.